Well, this is never a fun way to start or end your boating day, but some of the people we're about to see in this week's episode are going to have some similar feelings. Welcome back, guys. It is your boy Broncos Guru, and it is this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. Our first item to make the boating news this week is going to be the Port Rush RNLI, who rescued a teenage boy right off the rocks at Port Stewart's Head. This volunteer crew was called to launch their all-weather life vessel to help someone in distress at Downhill Beach, which subsequently turned out to be a false alarm, only to get the call that somebody was struggling off Port Stewart Head who had gotten into the water. When the RNLI crew arrived, they found a teenage boy swimming in the water in a wetsuit struggling against an ebbing tide. Due to the proximity of the rocks and the 6 to 9 foot seas, the boat could not necessarily get as close as they would like to rescue the person, and wound up having to send a crew member in a dry suit with a line to help rescue the kid. Once the kid was brought on board, he was found to be suffering from minor hypothermia, but with no other major injuries. Our next incident to make it in the boating news is going to show us what it's like to be stuck in a lock. We're going to head up to Missouri, and this is the Osage River, where these 3 boaters had to be rescued once their pontoon boat becomes stuck in a lock and dam. This event required the assistance of rescue workers from 4 different agencies, all working together to get these 3 hoisted up from this pontoon boat. They used a system of ropes and emergency equipment to get them hoisted to safety. These guys were really lucky here. Nobody was injured, but the speed of this water could have easily ripped this pontoon apart and could have easily turned this into a disastrous situation. Our next incident to make the boating news this week is going to take us down to Pensacola, Florida, and the Pensacola Bay Bridge, also known as 3 Mile Bridge. Somebody commented in Boneheaded Boaters this past week. We had a featured section called Boats vs. Bridges, and they said, man, I can't believe 3 Mile Bridge didn't make this section. Well, it's because we were saving it for this. Apparently, Skanska and several other major construction companies in the area had barges left in the Pensacola Bay during Hurricane Sally, and unfortunately, due to the worse than projected conditions from the storm, these vessels broke free, causing this damage that you can see here to the 3 Mile Bridge. This will likely have some severe economic impacts in the area. It's going to drastically increase the time it takes to travel from Pensacola, Florida over to Gulf Breeze. Officials in the area are still trying to assess damage in the situation to see exactly how many barges broke free and any kind of timeline on getting this repaired. Our next person to make the boating news this week is going to show you what it's like when you ignore the warnings. This port captain received several warnings from port authorities in Italy not to leave harbor. Him and his crew opted to go ahead and take the risk and try it anyway, only to discover very quickly they should have heeded the warnings they've been given. Strong winds have been pounding the Italian coastline for hours at this point, creating the sea state we see here, which obviously turns out to be a little bit too much for this vessel. This vessel winds up getting knocked into the rocks after losing its mast and losing all control. There was a total of 4 people on board this vessel, and somehow by the miracle of God, all 4 of these people walked off alive with only minor injuries. This one right here really could have been pretty bad. Just a brief reminder to always heed weather warnings and use your best judgment at all times before leaving port. Our next incident to make the boating news this week is going to show us what it's like when a proposal goes wrong. And when I say proposal goes wrong, I don't mean that she said no. In fact, she is super excited right here. And we all know what happens when people get a little excited sometimes. They do a little bit of silly things or accidentally can do something, kind of like we're about to see here as she's receiving her ring and expresses her joy and excitement. All of a sudden, she accidentally hits the throttle on this pontoon boat. I can see how some people will be a little upset if their proposal went this way, but let's be honest, you guys are about to have one of the most memorable wedding proposal stories. Congratulations on the engagement, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening in your waterways, be sure to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram and you might see your stories over here. Kind of like Heath Delzell did this week, a Miss Alfred, and also the YouTube channel The Big Dan Show did. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on that subscribe button. If not, we're coming to steal your drain plug.